Have you ever felt the weight of solitude pressing on your shoulders? This is a story of redemption, resilience, and the unexpected bond between a broken man and a wounded animal. The mountains of Montana were no place for the faint of heart. Winter lingered like a shadow, even when spring tried to soften the earth. Snow clung to the ridges, and the wind that cut through the valleys carried a sharp bite. Caleb Foster knew the solitude of these mountains better than most. A former soldier, he had traded the noise of the world for the silence of pine forests, living alone in a small cabin perched on the edge of a ridge. It was a place where the ghosts of his past couldn't follow so easily, or so he thought. On one gray afternoon, while walking the narrow trail that wound through the valley below his cabin, Caleb heard something strange. At first, he thought it was the creak of branches, but as he drew closer, the sound sharpened into the metallic rattle of barbed wire and the frantic thrashing of something large. His heart quickened. Through the mist, he saw a massive black horse, tangled in a stretch of old fencing. The stallion was wild, its coat shining like obsidian beneath the weak light, muscles straining as it fought against the cruel wires biting into its flesh. Caleb froze, his instincts colliding with fear. He had seen power like this before in war, in chaos, in desperate moments. One wrong step, and the horse could crush him. But as he watched the animal struggle, a memory returned unbidden. A fellow soldier crying out for help, pinned down in enemy fire. Caleb hadn't been able to reach him in time. That failure had haunted him every night since. This time he told himself he would not walk away. He approached slowly, speaking in a calm, steady voice. "Easy, boy. I'm not here to hurt you." His words disappeared into the sharp breaths of the horse, but Caleb pressed on. He carried a pair of wire cutters in his pack, used for clearing trails. His hands trembled as he pulled them free. The first snip of the wire sent the horse into a frenzy, hooves slashing the air. Caleb stumbled back, narrowly avoiding a blow that would have shattered bone. For a moment he considered retreating, but then he saw the blood soaking the animal's legs, the way its eyes rolled with terror, and he forced himself forward again. "Hold on," he whispered, as much to himself as to the stallion. It took long minutes, each one balanced between danger and determination, but finally the last wire snapped free. The stallion staggered forward, trembling, then collapsed to the ground with a heavy thud. Caleb knelt beside the fallen creature. He saw the labored rise and fall of its chest, the exhaustion etched into every breath. Gently he pulled a canteen from his pack and tilted water toward the animal's mouth. At first it refused, lips pressed tight in defiance. But then thirst overcame fear, and the horse drank. "You're going to be all right," Caleb murmured. "At least I'll try to make it so." The sun slipped behind the peaks, and the forest shadows deepened. Caleb knew he couldn't leave the horse here. Wolves prowled these mountains, drawn to weakness. With a grunt, he looped a length of rope around the horse's neck, coaxing rather than pulling, urging the animal toward safer ground. Hours passed as he struggled through undergrowth and uneven ground. The horse, whom Caleb had already named Shadow in his mind, stumbled often. His own muscles burned with fatigue, but he refused to stop. He had made a promise, even if only to himself. When night finally settled, the forest changed. The silence fractured with low, haunting howls. Caleb froze. The wolves had caught the scent of blood. Moments later, glowing eyes appeared between the trees. The pack closed in, circling. Caleb drew the knife he carried on his belt, a small blade compared to the danger before him.
Ow.
His breath steamed in the cold night air, but he stood firm. The first wolf lunged. Caleb slashed, pushing it back, but another darted from the side. Teeth grazed his arm, tearing cloth. He fought with desperate precision, every movement a memory of combat he thought he had left behind. Still he knew he couldn't last. And then a sound thundered through the darkness, a cry that shook the ground itself. Shadow, who had lain motionless only minutes before, surged to his feet. Blood streaked his coat, but his strength had not vanished entirely. With a powerful kick, he sent one wolf sprawling. His scream of defiance shattered the courage of the pack. One by one, the wolves retreated, melting back into the forest. Caleb lowered his knife, chest heaving. Shadow stood tall beside him, battered but unbroken. For the first time in years, Caleb felt he was not alone. Dawn painted the mountains in pale gold when they finally reached the open road. Relief was short-lived. A truck rolled to a stop, and a heavy-set man climbed out. His eyes narrowed on Shadow. "That's my horse," the man declared. His name was Harlan Briggs, a rancher with a reputation for cruelty. Caleb's jaw tightened. This horse was trapped, nearly dead. "You just left him," Harlan sneered. "Wild stock's fair game. If he got caught, that's his problem. Hand him over." Before the argument could escalate, another vehicle approached. Out stepped Sheriff Clara Monroe, her badge catching the morning light. She was steady, commanding, and her eyes missed nothing. "What's going on here?" she asked. Caleb explained, his voice rough with exhaustion. Clara listened, then turned to Harlan. "You've been warned about running unmarked barbed fences through grazing land. This horse isn't yours. In considering his condition, he's going with Caleb to the Wildlife Rescue Center." Harlan's protest died on his lips under Clara's steady gaze. With a curse, he retreated to his truck and sped off. Caleb exhaled, shoulders sagging. Clara offered a small smile. "You did good. Now let's get him help." Together, they brought Shadow to the rescue station tucked near the valley's edge. Veterinarians worked swiftly, cleaning wounds, stitching torn flesh, and administering medicine. Caleb stood outside the stall, watching through the slats as Shadow lay under blankets. Hours passed. When night fell again, Caleb remained. At last Shadow stirred, lifting his head. Their eyes met man and beast, both scarred, both survivors. Caleb felt a warmth spread through him, easing a weight he had carried too long. He realized then that something inside him had shifted. For years, he had believed isolation was his only refuge, that the world had nothing left for him but memories of failure. But Shadow's fight, his resilience, had shown him otherwise. Saving the horse had, in a way, saved him too. The next morning, Caleb left the rescue center with a lighter heart. The mountains were still cold, the nights still long, but he no longer faced them alone. Whether or not Shadow would one day return to the wild, Caleb knew their paths had crossed for a reason. Sometimes redemption did not come with fanfare or applause. Sometimes it came quietly in the bond between a broken man and a wounded animal, two souls who refused to give up. And for the first time in many years, Caleb Foster no longer felt the weight of solitude pressing so heavily on his shoulders. He had done the right thing. He had not walked away. He had found hope again.